We're talking about just how it's interesting during this time of year. There's no other like marquee sporting event going on but the All-Star game. Yet you have certain players that quote are opting out based on the 7 reasons that they're able to. And I was mentioning to Eric that players sometimes complain that the league doesn't market them well enough, or their teams don't market them well enough. Major League Baseball overall. But it's not a good look. They don't show up to one of the biggest extravaganzas throughout the year, and I don't think it's a good look for baseball.
No, you know what? And it's funny. I actually didn't even know you guys signed on. I never got the alert on my phone for some reason. But it's funny because this was brought up months ago. I do another baseball podcast called the Diamond Club Podcast. And we talk about, baseball's marketing and how Mike Trout, his face isn't plastered everywhere.
Eric was mentioning that, yes.
Which is crazy. Like, we all know who Mike Trout is. Like, obviously, he's a local kid. I mean, well, not local, but he's local enough. But we know who he is. But if you go and, like, the way baseball markets everybody, he's not marketed. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's really bizarre. And I think it's baseball has always operated in such a traditionalistic type of manner. And I get it. It's America's pastime. However, I think there are certain elements of baseball, and whether it's Rob Manfred or whether it's other parts of that MLB front office, that need to realize, and I hate using the cliched phrase, we're in the 21st century, but we are progressing to a point where certain elements and aspect of baseball just might not be as relevant as they once were. And the way of doing business in the old days might not be the way that we should be doing business now. And Chris, as you're talking about with the marketing, we've mentioned it many times on our podcast that they have to do a better job. Teams have to do a better job as well. I mean, I remember 6 years ago when we were doing our show, my co-host Len and I talking about how the Phillies just needed to do more in terms of their marketing and branding. And they've certainly come a certain amount of way with that. They've done a decent job over the years, but I still think they can do a lot more in terms of their online branding and marketing. But again, yeah,
you're right. And, having Bryce Harper, he's really, I feel like he's taken that next step as a guy, as people quote unquote say, he gets Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But he does all the right stuff. The Fanatic cleats, the Fanatic jacket,
definitely gets it. Yeah.
The Fanatic and the gritty t-shirt, like, and he wears that stuff and he wears it proud.
Yeah.
So he's absolutely not like I truly think he loves this city. I know he loves the fan base, and I feel like the Phillies market him pretty damn well. Like, I could be 100% wrong, but I went to the game against the Padres where they on that Sunday, and me and my buddy Keith went, and we got tickets in right field. We specifically got tickets in right field.
It's awesome.
And we specifically got tickets, or we got there early enough so that we could see his bow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so for marketing stuff like that, like, he's at least doing the marketing for the Phillies. I'll say that. He's always in the news. He's always like signed JT. He's always got that BCIB shirt on like all last season during COVID. Like he was marketing himself. So I think with that, the Phillies got that right.
Yeah.
But back to your point is like Mike Trout's face needs to be everywhere. You never hear a negative thing about the guy. Like, I see, like, right now that everyone is, everyone's a big hot thing right now is their time to 100-mile-an-hour fastball, Nolan Arenado, which is ridiculous. It's like, but like, that's your designated hitter. He's got 33 home runs,
right?
And we've never seen this,
right?
Like, you've never seen a guy throw 100 miles an hour. Like, there's a joke that came out. It was like a couple weeks ago. Ohtani threw 88 pitches. Now he's playing right field. I did that in 8th grade. How come no one made a big stink? How come no one made a big stink when I did it? I feel like baseball's coming around with the marketing part. Like, they're starting to put the faces out there. And they're getting lucky. And they're getting lucky because now we're seeing kids that we watched their dads play. The Bichettes, the Biggios, the Vlads, Guerreros, and the Tatis. Like, they're slowly becoming the best players in the game. And it's just comical because we watched their dads play.
Yeah.
Like that's, and I think it's another thing is like they're finally getting to that marketing. They're not doing enough, like you pertained to earlier, but but so I missed it. What were you saying about because the guys who were opted out of the All-Star game?
Well, yeah, we were just talking about
Yeah.
the fact that some of these players have opted out of the All-Star game, maybe rightfully so because of injuries or, nursing something here or there. But just like we were talking, this is the best time of year for Major League Baseball to be able to market themselves. And of course, with the new collective bargaining agreement that's going to be coming down the pike, I do wonder if Major League Baseball is going to engage in this aspect of the All-Star game and the All-Star break a little bit more. And, wanting to have their stars be the marquee or at the marquee here instead of just staying at home. And it really, again, talking about the marketing of baseball, Ohtani, I mean, you brought him up, and Eric, I know you wanted to get into Ohtani a little bit and the whole Babe Ruth aspect of it. What better way to market baseball at this very moment in time? Ohtani is a once-in-a-century player in a year when we need to be awed and inspired by baseball, and we need to be distracted by it, quite frankly, because there's a lot of other stuff within the baseball world that's not all that great right now. And I think there is the possibility that he actually could be, quote, better than Babe Ruth, quite frankly. Listen, Babe Ruth did it for what, 1918, 1919? He did it for 2 years. And Ohtani might be able to do this longer. And what does that do for his legacy? What does it do for the game of baseball's legacy? And I wish that Major League Baseball would be more engaged from a marketing perspective when it comes to Ohtani and what he means to the game.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree because, I mean, he the talent level that he's playing against is light years ahead of what Babe Ruth was going against.
Right.
I mean, you go back and look at what they were playing, like where they were playing and things like that. In some of these stadiums, like it was basically just backyards with concrete walls built around them. And now these guys are top of the line, everything. And the athleticism is just through the charts.
Yeah.
And for what he's doing, it's mythical. It's really mythical. It's like he that's where he comes into the same conversation as Babe Ruth. And I agree with you. He may be better than him when everything's all said and done.
He may be, yeah.
And to me, it speaks volumes of the game of baseball because he's not from America. He is an import, and you have this type of talent that came into the country to play an American game, and he is just he's it. He's the guy. He's the one the kids will be talking about.
Exactly.
When they're talking and with their grandkids.
Exactly. Yeah. Babe Ruth, he quit doing it both ways. He quit, the two-way business just after 218 games. He told reporters while golfing in Los Angeles after the 1919 season that, the outfield was where he belonged. It was too hard on his arm to play every single day, take your turn in the box, and he found that it was just never effective for him from a long-term perspective. But I don't know, with Ohtani, he's quite the athlete. Babe Ruth, he was impressive, but from an athleticism standpoint, with all the hot dogs and beer, who knows? I don't know. Maybe Ohtani's eating hot dogs and drinking beer. I don't know.
So a funny thing about Ohtani is he came over, and there were obviously all the teams were interested, and the Angels were able to buy his rights. If he had waited one more season when he was 25, he would have gotten a $200 million deal without ever playing a Major League Baseball game.
That's incredible.
That is insane. Think about the contract he's going to get once it's up.
Oh yeah. Depending on.
Like people are talking about like Bryce Harper's deal, and for Fernando Tatis's deal who just signed. His deal is going to be outrageous.
Yeah.
And if he keeps doing what he's doing, he's got to stay in the American League.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I can't see unless the DH comes to the National League.
Right.
So and if I'm the players union and with everything coming up with the CBA and you bring that up, like that could be a selling point Because think about it, as great as the Los Angeles Angels are, imagine if a market team like the Mets, the Phillies, the Yankees, if we'll even go with the Red Sox, like even the Nationals, like those market teams, and they go after Ohtani and they got the DH, it's going to be an East Coast team. Like,
Right.
So there's going to be more exposure. We'll probably, if I had to take a guess, a team that's obviously going to take a stab at them, it's always going to be the Yankees because they just
Absolutely.
just print money. But teams like the Mets, the Phillies, like because of the market they have, and like think about it, like if the Phillies went and got Ohtani, and they have Bryce Harper and they have JT Realmuto, like the market alone right there, and again we go back to the beginning of the podcast. It's so much easier to market these guys because they're on the East Coast. They're not on the West Coast. Not many people stay up to watch 10, 11 o'clock games. I've always said baseball is a special sport. It's only a certain type of person can sit through 9 innings of a game. Like, because you've had no many times. Oh, it's boring. It's this. It's that. Listen, I'll sit down. I'll watch as much baseball as I can.
Right. But with Ohtani here, though, guys, it's so incredible how you can take the traditionalistic aspects of the game, the traditionalists who watched this game for 9 innings. You can take the traditional components and people who love this game and mix and mesh it with a newer type of generation. The first AL player ever with 31 home runs and 12 stolen bases by the All-Star break. I mean, he leads the major leagues in home runs, and I love this stat, and bunt hits as well. He's 4 for 4 when bunting for a hit. I mean, that is an unmatched success rate. I mean, and until this year, no player, and we're looking at Babe Ruth here, ever hit 30 home runs and made 10 starts on the mound in the same year, and Ohtani did it in just 81 games. So you can take the traditionalists within the game of baseball, and you can take those individuals and start meshing them with what we're talking about here, these amazing stats, and say, listen, part of the game that we all love so much, and that's been the traditional aspects of this game, we can mesh it with what's happening today. And I wish Major League Baseball would get there, man. I wish they would. I wish they'd be able to market this a little bit better than what they are now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because like I said to you off air, it is a shame that you don't hear anything about Mike Trout, but yet they make it seem like Aaron Judge is the greatest guy in the world, all because he's a Yankee on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And I don't think Aaron Judge.
I can't stand Aaron Judge. I think there's just something about him that I just don't like. Like, I don't know what it is. It's not that he's a Yankee. I just don't like him. I don't know why. I'm sure he's a good dude. I don't know. There's just something. I think he might be too cocky. Like, because I feel like he's like, I'm Aaron Judge and I'm a Yankee, so I'm already good. Well, I could be 100% wrong. The guy's probably a way better character person than I'll ever be, but that's just my opinion of him.
Yeah, you're right. You never know. You don't know what this guy's like, but I do. I just find it funny that he gets a lot of attention, and someone like Trout, you don't hear anything about, which also makes me laugh because you got Ohtani there, and Ohtani's just like blowing up, like taking the baseball world by storm, and I mean, you got Mike Trout sitting there, and no one hears a word about him ever.
Well, a lot of it has to do with winning too. So unfortunately, the Angels.
Good point.
They haven't won anything. They haven't really advanced. I don't even have the stats in front of me, but I'm sure that they didn't make the playoffs a lot. So
right.
So the exposure isn't there. But like when you're in Philadelphia and you see Mike Trout, what do you remember Mike Trout for? Getting the football from Carson Wentz during an Eagles game. That's the most time we see him during like October and September is he's getting the football from the quarterback.
Being a diehard Eagle fan. Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the fact that like the NFL uses that to their advantage, like they see Mike Trout, like, oh, well, we're going to zoom in on him because now fans are going to talk about it. Oh, did you see Wentz and Trout are they're best friends, so maybe Wentz can get Trout to come to the Phillies. Like,
definitely fell for that. I definitely fell for
that. Everybody fell for that. Like, it's You're not the only one. I'm sure the half city of probably 75% of the city of Philadelphia fell for that.
Right.
But I always go back to like think about it. Why would Mike Trout come to Philadelphia? He lives in Los Angeles. There's no pressure out there to win.
Right.
You know, their football teams could lose 87-3 in January, but when they walk outside, it's 94 degrees outside. When a team on the East Coast loses 87-3, you're walking back to your car in snow, rain, and 10-degree weather. That's why everyone on the East Coast always looks mad when their team loses when they leave the game. I paid all this money to watch my team get blown out, and it's 9 degrees outside.
They're ticked off at the weather.
Right. That's yeah. Yep. Right. You never saw anyone leaving San Diego the Charger Stadium sad.
Nope.
Because they don't even turn the air on. That's how nice it is out there. But that. You know, I don't know. But go back to Ohtani. Like he's going to demand a lot. Not that he's going to demand a lot of money. The market's going to give him a lot of money.
Yes. And
you know, if Major League Baseball is right, they should put the DH in the NL so that it gives us a chance to see him on the East Coast if he signs with a different team. Yeah. And you know what? The Phillies have 2 designated hitters, so maybe we can use one of them because Alec Bohm stinks at third. As does Reese Hoskins stinks at first. Like, put Hoskins at DH and put Alec Bohm at first.
No, I totally agree. I agree with you. And the DH could be the best thing to happen in the NL. Could absolutely be the best thing to happen.
There's my broadcast partner from the Diamond Club podcast.
The DH could be the best thing to happen in the NL because it'll be able to market these guys that don't normally play during these times and when they come to the East Coast now. So, yeah, man. But you're right. Ohtani's he's 100% going to get money just thrown at him because the market's going to dictate it. And
yeah,
I can't wait to see what he gets because I'm gonna just like scream into my pillow.
It's going to be 400.
Oh,
I think it's going to be 400.
If he keeps it up, yeah. If he keeps this up on a consistent basis, I think you're correct.
Yeah.
If this dude wins 20 games, I don't even know what his record is. But imagine if he wins 20 games and hits 55 home runs. Like teams are going to be just like, I'll trade you my minor league system right now for him.
Yeah.
like his ERA at home is 1.72. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. And he had one bad outing, and that was against the Yankees a couple weeks ago when he gave up 7 runs in the first inning. But like pitchers have been, but that's where the designated hitter and being the batter and the pitcher, because once you take him out as the pitcher, he's not the DH no more.
Right.
Obviously, All-Star game that they made, it's the All-Star game. This is what people want to see. So now an AL manager has to know how to use his bench correctly. John Verlady, he's got to come up and he's got to bat. Well, I'm going to make sure I have a pinch hitter for him. So
right.
There's some American League. It's not that hard to manage if you have your 1 through 9. It's where you have to start using pinch hitters in the American League. And let's be realistic. How many pinch hitters are really in the American League? Like, not too many of them.
Not too many. Not too many.
So, I don't know. I like I said, I'm all for the DH. I used to be against the DH for the National League. I just didn't like the DH to begin with, but now I'm for it. Like, bring it on.
I like to hear that. I'm definitely a fan. I'm a fan. One of my co-hosts is not a fan. He's he's a traditionalist with the game of baseball. But I'm looking forward to seeing it come to the NL. In all seriousness, and listen, I know the strategy is there. I know it's the managers have a strategic way about doing things, which is the appeal of the National League. I just don't want Aaron Nola. I don't want Zach Wheeler. I don't want to see my Phillies pitchers in the batting box anymore. I just don't. I'm an old man at this point. I'm getting up there, and I have been tired of seeing pitchers in the batting box in the National League for some time. And listen, my co-hosts and we've gone back and forth on it. My other co-host Eric, he agrees. He's like, let's get rid of, or let's bring in the DH to the National League. But I think we're at that point in time. And I think what's interesting is, and I don't know if we want to move on to what's going to be happening potentially with the Phillies, with the trade deadline and what may happen with, Reese. I don't know if you want to dive into that. This is your show. I'm sorry. I don't mean to hijack anything.
Oh, no, you're good. Listen,
Your
we're
opinion.
all here. We're all talking the same thing. No,
Yeah.
listen, you're right. Like, I don't think the Phillies are going to sell anybody. I think they're going to make a move. I think they're going to get like an Ian Kennedy. They're not going to get Kimbrel because the Cubs are going to want the world. They're going to want the world.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Like, they're going to be like, we want Mick Abel and Bryson Stott, and I would hang up that phone like real quick.
Yeah.
So,
part of me wonders if at all possible if they could do both in a way, somehow, some way. I mean, they're not too far out of first place, amazingly enough, in the NL East. The Mets, I mean, they seem to be like
going to net. They're going to net.
Yeah. They seem to be like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, not being able to mount like a 9 out of 11 run, to take off with the division lead. The Braves are still stuck spinning their wheels, and of course with the major injury, ACL injury to Ronald Acuna, the Nationals, they've kind of cooled off. They've lost their hottest hitter, and the Phillies haven't set the world on fire. They also haven't disappeared either. So I wonder if it's possible that they could actually buy maybe some necessary bullpen pieces to shore up what could be this very leaky bullpen. Maybe adding a 6th or 7th inning reliever shouldn't cost them that much, maybe, or even any of their best prospects. So I don't know. I'm wondering if there's something there, if they should pounce on it. At the same time, they're a team that's more assured of a playoff spot, becoming something desperate. They're becoming desperate, it's something that, I don't know. It's just interesting because I think they have like a 15% chance right now of making the playoffs. It's not great. It's certainly not mortgaging the future, and the future being Spencer Howard or Mick Abel or Bryson Stott, for just a marginally higher chance at the postseason. So I don't know. I'm kind of just on both sides of this here, guys.
Yeah, listen. The Phillies are an above-average team. In the beginning of the season, we did a show, and I said I have them at like an 87, 88 win team.
I had them at 84. Yeah,
maybe making a run for the last wild card spot. And playing that one game, but like I'm a stat guy. So I follow every little thing, and the Phillies are 6 pitches away from being 50-38 instead of 44-44. Like, so that's like 6 pitches. Like, that's insane. That's how bad their bullpen has been. So, I mean, I don't know what the deal with Spencer Howard is, if he's on a pitch count, but he has a good inning. Put him in as a closer. I don't know if Ranger Suarez, I had called for it just to see if he could do it. Just a 7-out save. Like, now you're going to have all the Philadelphia Phillies fans saying Ranger Suarez should have been the closer all season long. That's being a closer, you have to be insane. You got to be a Papelbon-esque crazy SOB to be a closer, because you can't let it bother you. And we don't know the mentality of Ranger Suarez. Now,
right.
Alvarado's got the mentality of being a closer. He just doesn't have the stuff. Like, he just – I'm tired of seeing a 100-mile-an-hour sinker bounce to home plate.
Right. Happens all the time.
And then Hector Neris, he just – I got nothing. Like, I was at that game. He was 1 pitch away from the back of the inning, and then he gave up 6 unanswered runs with 2 outs.
Yeah. I read a stat a few weeks ago. It might have been a little over a few weeks ago that 50% of his pitches that are actually where contact is made with the bat are actually just pop-ups in the outfield. 50%. I'm sorry, I don't want that from closer. I don't want that at all. I mean, just making we're talking about a batter making contact. 50% of them are pop-ups in the outfield, and it's just unacceptable to me. That's unacceptable to me for a closer.
Yeah, no,
his cutter isn't cutting.
Yeah, it's not.
And I don't know what you guys are thinking in terms of after the All-Star break, but I think in terms of the buying and selling, if things happen after the All-Star break, because I think they start with the Red Sox again, like if things start to fall apart, like selling raises its own problems, because unless there's going to be a total teardown route, which honestly I would be strongly against, anything that they sell, they're going to need to replace next year. So if they wanted to like trade Gene Segura or Rhys Hoskins, that leaves them with an incredible void at one of the infield spots next year. And I don't know if this team should do that.
So, I mean, if they trade Rhys Hoskins, that is what it is. So you're going to have Bone move over to third.
Right.
Then you probably have Segura move over to third. And you'll put Bohm at first. You would have to think Maton's going to play second. That would be my guess. And then, so. I don't know why Bryson Stott's not at Lehigh Valley. He's tearing up for Reading right now.
Yeah.
He had a great All-Star weekend. Like, move that kid up to Lehigh Valley. And get him up there and get him ready for 2022. Because he's the guy who's going to replace Didi. Like, hands down. Unless they can trade Didi this year. But, like I said, I don't think the Phillies make any trades. I'll be shocked if Rhys Hoskins is traded. I think Rhys Hoskins is a trade piece in the offseason. Mm-hmm. But again, that also goes back to what they're going to do with the DH.
Right.
Like if they're going to use if it ends up being that the DH is coming to the NL, Rhys is going over to Rhys is swinging over to DH. Bone's going to first, and maybe they go after Chris Bryant in the offseason and he can play third.
Right.
That would be the ideal. For me, my biggest thing, is they gotta replace Odubel Herrera. They have to. Like, you're not gonna have McCutchen next year.
Nope.
And Odubel Herrera is his on base percentage for a leadoff hitter is atrocious.
Stinks, yes.
And it's atrocious for him being in the lineup. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I agree.
You're gonna have hopefully Mickey Moniak. I know that's Eric's boy. Hopefully
Mickey Mantle. Yeah.
Mickey Mantle. But hopefully he comes around. Yeah, like Odubel. Like, why is he given not a short leash? Like, but what's his name? He was given 10 games.
Right.
Mickey Moniak.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not saying he's the answer, but but Odubel isn't. He's not a good ball player. He's terrible defensively. Isn't he on the IR anyway, or IL, whatever it is?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Chris, you know why
he's batting 241. He's got an on base of 290. His slugging's 390. He's got 45 strikeouts against 14 walks. That's a disgrace. Like,
it's
rough.
Like,
it's real rough.
And then so when you sit there and you get frustrated and you see, obviously Travis Janikowski has played a lot better since he got tagged out at second by the catcher in full gear. It's still one of the most aggravating plays I think I can remember in Phillies history. And Real Muto just hit a home run.
Oh, that's fantastic! Fantastic.
It was funny when I was coming home. I was at a kids baseball game, and I had the two kids in the car, my son and his teammate. I'm like, Real Muto's hitting a home run today. I didn't really think he was going to hit a home run. Snippet: I did not know that JT Real Muto was a shortstop in the minors.
Neither did I. You're
neither.
teaching me something here tonight, Chris. Thank you very much.
He was a shortstop, and the last All-Star game he played shortstop.
Right.
I had a 13-year-old tell me this. I'm like, get out of here.
Unbelievable. Oh, these kids. But I mean, getting back to the Phils though here, guys, I mean, I still find it unbelievable with the considerable amount of defensive shortcomings and what that has done to this team during the course of this season. The defensive shortcomings and the lack of concentration at times on the field with some of these players. I don't mean to be complaining about this team, given the fact that they still actually have the ability statistically to win the NL East. They do have the ability to do it. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. I don't mean to be negative, but my gosh, if the defensive shortcomings can be mitigated at some point during the second half of the season, we can see some good stuff coming from this team.
Oh.
No, you're absolutely correct. And it's the one thing that me and Eric always talk about is like, we're not rooting against this team. We're not. But when we see the shortcomings, we're going to talk about it. We're not going to be like, like those others. Oh, like the one radio station always finds something wrong. They just went 7-3 in their last 10 games.
Yeah,
and they find something wrong with that 7-3.
of course.
Yeah.
And like when you talk about the defensive shortcomings, it's all across the board. Real Muto he's been terrible behind the plate with throwing out runners. Didi's had his moments. Bryce has had his moments.
Yeah.
I forget the one game I was watching a double, just backtrack and I'm like, you could have held the guy to a single if you would have played it correctly. It's just laziness. Like it's all when it comes down to is laziness. At least like when Didi's out there and he's making errors, he's at least attempting to make a play.
Right.
But
yeah.
So, and another thing that I'll ask you about, and you can chime in too. What is your thoughts on Joe Girardi as manager?
It's an interesting concept and a question. I should say question, not concept.
Concept.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. We actually talked about it on our show this past week. And again, it's like talking about the trade deadline. Do they buy or do they sell? Joe Girardi, is he good or does he not have all the tools in the toolbox here to be able to make certain decisions he needs to make, especially with the bullpen? And I think that with Joe Girardi, I think he's going to get at least another season, regardless of how things go. I mean, unless this team completely tanks it, I think Joe Girardi is still going to be the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies next year. There are instances we have seen throughout this season where he has made extremely questionable choices, specifically with the bullpen. I mean, and then getting the card wrong and everything that one game. Like, just there are questionable aspects of his managerial acumen this season. But I do also believe that the front office needs to be held accountable for what they have provided, not just what they've provided this team, because there's something to be said for chemistry with a team. And that chemistry is able to take teams to another level. We saw that with the Philadelphia Eagles in the 2017 season. We saw what chemistry can do to a team, quite frankly, guys, that probably should not have won the Super Bowl in many ways. It was a magical year. I loved it, and it was fantastic. But there's something to be said about chemistry. And for some reason, this Philadelphia Phillies franchise doesn't seem to have it with all the talent that's on paper. And how does that reflect with regard to what Joe Girardi is or is not able to do? I still don't think we have the answers to that, but I still think he's going to be around for at least another year.
Yeah, I agree. I think he is too. I do.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you bring up the chemistry, because I always say about the 2017 Eagles, they had the 3 C's. They had chemistry, they had coaching, and they had catches. I feel like they caught everything.
Yes.
There like Nelson Aguilar looked like Jerry Rice. Like, didn't drop a blessed thing that year.
Yeah, for some reason he took the rakes that were his hands for the years prior, and he just cut the rakes off and actually put fingers on his hands. He didn't have rakes on his, on his hands.
But I always say they had the 3 C's. As good as that chemistry was, their coaching was better. That's just, and we saw what happened when DeFilippo left, and when we saw Reich leave. Like, we saw the coaching take a step back, and that's fine. That's what happens in the NFL. But you're right. Like, the Phillies don't have chemistry, and they don't have like that Rollins to Utley. Like, it's just not there. Like, you just don't see it. You can feel it as a fan, and you never think like, oh, all right, well, there's a man on first. So-and-so is going to ground out until you're going to get this 4-6-3 double play. Yeah. And you're just not that confident. I can still remember being in my car on the way to dinner when the Phillies beat the Nationals in 2008 to win the division. I was like, oh, they're going to hit no double play. And next thing you hear Harry Kalas Al Rollins, Utley to first, NL East champs.
Yeah.
And you like it's stuff like that when you just look at the past teams, and you Erica just put up this stat. Like look at that. 139 years.
Yeah, John is completely correct. The team doesn't have an identity. They have no identity.
And they were in the playoffs for 5 straight seasons.
Yeah.
So that means take away those 5, it was 9. 9 times in 139 years of postseason success is just not good. Like I don't know. And like I said, I love baseball. We had a guy last night on from the Charlotte Bats who's trying to get a baseball team into Charlotte, Major League Baseball team, and I'm looking forward to see how that's going. And we just talking baseball. When your teams are good, it's good.
It's fun. It's fun
to talk about.
Sports are fun.
Think about the conversation. Right. Think about the conversation we would be having right now if the Phillies went 3-7 instead of 7-3.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'd trade everybody. But the big thing that is going on in baseball, then we'll move on to the next topic, is I don't know, like I said, is these people who were just say Bryce Harper isn't worth the money. They need to trade him. It's one of the worst signings in Phillies history. And it just comes down to people who don't know the game of baseball.
Right.
Like that's all. There's guys who they turn on the TV, they see, oh, you know what? The media says that Bryce Harper got $330 million. Oh, well, he's not playing up to his potential. Oh, you know what? The Houston Astros cheated. They're cheaters. The Yankees did this. The Yankees did that. And that's what they follow by. Right. And it drops and it drives me bananas. And I know John is going to chime in too, because it drives him bananas when they sit there and say that Bryce Harper isn't worth the money. He's not a good ball player. He's overrated. And then he'll drop stats that just make you, and then you don't hear from anybody, because that's the thing. Like we run this podcast, we love talking sports. And I'm on social media all the time. And the time I see people, killing Claude Giroux, killing Bryce Harper, killing so-and-so, I'm like, well, come on. Get your 15 minutes of fame. You tell us why Bryce Harper stinks.
Right.
And you know what they'll say? Because he doesn't drive in 100 runs.
Right.
Bryce Harper's not an RBI guy. He's never been.
Right.
He's done it 3 times in his career. He hit 42 home runs the year he won the MVP and drove in 99 runs. He had 40 home runs and drove in 99 RBIs.
It's saying something.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's not his. It's not what his game. He leads the Phillies I think he's like first or second on base. But he leads the Phillies and he's second in home runs. On base percentage is like first or second, and he leads them in steals. Our number 3 hitter leads our team in steals.
Right.
And that's a stat that no one talks about because no one steals bases anymore. But you got John Smith on, talking 215 or talking Phillies. Oh, Bryce Harper's overrated. He stinks. Right. He's not worth the $330 million. You should trade him and rebuild your farm. I'm just gonna let you know the Phillies are not good at development players. They're not.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this kid that they drafted, but with him and Mick Abel, they should have a good 1-2 punch. You guys feel anything differently, but with the Phillies, you get scared. You're like, oh man, what are they gonna do? How are they gonna screw this up?
Though, like you just brought up, you're looking forward to the kid they just drafted. I think the Major League Baseball draft is completely pointless and a waste of time because you never know what they're going to be. Number one, that's with any draft, to be honest with you. You never know what these guys are going to be. But sometimes it just takes so long for guys to develop. I can't stand the draft. And the simple fact that, you were actually talking draft with somebody makes me laugh because I can't do it. Major League Baseball draft, I can't do it.
I think when it comes to the Phillies organization, it takes so long for these players to develop. And listen, Chris, I know you like to get in the weeds, and I live 10 minutes from Coca-Cola Park where the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs play. And it's been nice over the years to see certain players at that park doing what they're doing to try to develop. But I think we do need to keep in mind that the Phillies do have new developmental evaluators and new scouts. They have almost essentially, from my understanding, a lot of new development individuals in the system. And it's my hope that within the next year or two, we're going to kind of see the fruits of these new individuals, coming to some sort of positive fruition here, because it's been really rough. I mean, going back to the J.P. Crawford days, the Maikel Franco days. I mean, we saw what those gentlemen, what their ceilings, have been thus far in their careers. And I mean, with Maikel Franco, I have lost track of him, and I don't even know if he's playing baseball right now. He might still be. He's on
the Orioles.
Is he on the Orioles? Okay. And I just think the developmental staff, it is new. I say this with hesitation. Let's give them a shot here over the course of the next year or two to see what they can do with some of these guys, and specifically the guys that were just drafted during this draft too.
Right, and I really hope that there is some development coming down the pike somewhere, because little fun fact: how many Philadelphia Phillies catchers have hit a home run in an All-Star game? JT Realmuto tonight, the only one. Okay. And he's not even someone that we drafted. So, so I want to see better. I want to see better prospects coming out from the draft. I want to see an actual farm system produce something other than Cole Hamels, Jimmy Ross. You know what I mean? I want to see it. Like, we're going back to when they had a farm system and they came up, they built their guys, and it was like John said, they were all part of that 6-year run from 07 to 12. Look what happens when you hit on players and you develop them.
Yes.
And ever since then, they just haven't developed, and they've made baseball a living hell in Philadelphia. So, go ahead, Chris. I know you're dying to jump back in.
No, I just obviously, the new topic is, I don't know, the Eagles. No, is the Ben Simmons trade rumors. How the fruition of it has starting to gain some heat this week.
Well, I mean, look, you knew, even though that they were saying, all the right things, they want to keep Ben, they want to work with him, they want to try and help this kid and to really develop a game or develop a free throw shot.
You have to say that, I think.
Yeah, but you knew that was all a cover for something like this to leak out. That they are willing to shop them, they are willing to trade them. I mean, when you take 3-4 shots in the fourth quarter of a playoff round, he was a liability on the court. He was an absolute liability, and you should not be getting that in this stage of his career, being a former number 1 overall pick. And it's ugly. You can't bring him back after that kind of performance. The fan base would completely kill the Sixers, rightfully so. And I'm not surprised at all that they're willing to shop him, or that it's leaking out that he's on the block, let's say, and that they want an all-star in return. Well, yeah, you want an all-star in return. You're not going to give him away for a bag of balls.
Right. What I think is interesting, guys, when it comes to Ben Simmons, the potential trade, because I do think it is going to happen and it's going to come at some point. I think it's important for us to look at what happens almost every offseason in the NBA. There's a star player that demands a trade and inevitably gets it. In 2017, it was Chris Paul. 2018, Kawhi Leonard. 2019, Anthony Davis. And in 2020 was James Harden. So the next one could be on the horizon, and the Sixers will be in a position, I think, to make an offer to a team by including Ben Simmons. I think it will inevitably happen, because I think, as frustrating as he was and how awful his play was, how he was playing scared, how most of the team was playing scared, especially during the second round against the Hawks, I think it's important. And my gosh, I've been defending Ben Simmons for years and years in the Philadelphia Sports Table podcast. And it's gotten so tiring and so old. But guys, we need to recognize that he still has a pedigree here in the NBA. There's value there. There is value. I think sometimes folks will go a bit too far when they say he's a bum. I'm sorry. he's not a bum. When you're one of the best defensive players in the NBA, you're not a bum. He has developed, by the way, in terms of his defensive game. That pedigree has been developed very, very nicely over all these years. Unfortunately, we cannot say the same thing for the offensive side of his game. When he's under the rim and can just take a layup and decides not to in the fourth quarter, and Embiid is saying, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? What's going on here? You know that there is a fracture within his brain when it comes to the offensive component of the ball. So I think we need to kind of be patient here with what Daryl Morey's going to do. I just say trust the Morey at this point, especially after getting, Seth Curry for Josh Richardson, for God's sake, last year.
That was a ridiculous trade.
Oh, my God.
Amazing.
Trust the Morey. I do have trust in him, probably most trust of any general manager. He's not even the general manager, technically, but the guy making decisions. Yeah.
He's a GM. Elton Brand's there for the face.
Exactly. But again, guys, I think the next major player, this next major star player to demand a trade is probably going to be on the horizon. We're seeing it year after year after year. And I think that's where Daryl Morey can come in, and that's where Ben Simmons can possibly be part of a package.
No, and you're right. And let's listen. We can go on for another 8 hours. With the Ben Simmons hate and the Ben Simmons talk.
Yeah.
But he's still 25 years old. He's going to be 25 on Tuesday.
Yeah.
The guy's not a lot like LeBron James was playing. He's in his 20th season and he was 19. So we're gonna give him if we're gonna trade him, that's fine. Make sure we get the superstar that we need in return.
Absolutely.
I don't want to watch a 38-year-old Ben Simmons win his third championship, for the Lakers or for the Cavaliers or for somebody. I don't want to say, and we can sit there and say that, oh yeah, we had him in his prime, but we got mad because he didn't shoot. And listen, I'm one of those guys defended Ben, but I did get on him. But when you go back to the series against Atlanta, we can all agree that Ben was 65% of the problem, and then it was Doc. And then for me, it was Tobias Harris. As good as Tobias Harris was that series, he had 4 key turnovers in 2 games, and he had 4 points. Max players can't do that.
Absolutely. Chris, Tobias Harris laid down during that series. He laid down, and it was a detriment to the Philadelphia 76ers in the playoffs.
Right. And you know what? And when I was on a podcast a couple weeks ago, because I had gotten to a debate with the guy Frankie, because he was all Tobias, and I'm like, Tobias is a reason they lost. I was like, you take away Embiid's 8 turnovers in Game 7. Embiid was in a different planet when he was injured and he was still dropping, with the exception of the one game, 30, 35 points a game. But Tobias Harris, those 2 turnovers at the end of the game when you had a chance to win, he's not getting enough heat. And I still say, as much as Ben Simmons is getting killed, and Eric will be there to back me up, he is nowhere, in my opinion, getting the heat that Carson Wentz got. No, Carson Wentz couldn't do a blessed thing right. Even when he was on the bench, he doesn't talk to the media. Well, again, the backup quarterbacks don't talk to the media. Well, he should. Well, we're not in a regular season. They talk via Zoom. Why would the backup quarterback talk to the reporters? It's the stage for Jalen Hurts. That's the stage for Frank Reich. It's a stage for the defensive captain. Mm-hmm. It's not his place to talk.
Right.
It was well, he should talk to us. Why? And then he would get heat for that. And I just don't think Ben Simmons is getting heat. It's starting to pick up now because he's watching Wimbledon. We're really mad. We're really mad that the kid's watching tennis in Australia.
Exactly. That he has a life outside of trying to fix his free throw shot or something.
So he spent 3 hours one day watching Wimbledon, and it's like this guy isn't working on his shot. Well, you know what? We see the gym videos. We saw the gym videos all last year. We saw the gym videos all in 2019.
I don't want to see those this year.
I don't want to see a blessed thing.
Yeah.
Put that on. Put it under a burner account and put a purge face on him so we don't see his face. Because then we get all optimistic. Oh, he's got a jump shot. Oh, he's doing this. He's hitting 3-pointers. He's hitting those free throws. and then it's the Ben Simmons that was of the 2021, 7-round Atlanta series.
Right.
And I know I'm going to get heat for this. As bad as Ben Simmons was in Game 7, he also shut down Trae Young. Like, we got beat by, a ginger. I'm sorry. We got beat. we got beat by our own kind. Like, why is Herder scoring 27 points?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Like, how does that happen? Like,
yeah,
like that doesn't mean anything. I don't get it.
The interesting point. I think when it comes to where Ben Simmons is developmentally from an offensive standpoint, I think that's why Daryl Morey is inevitably going to move him. And I really do think that, yes, they're going to have to trade for an all-star, but I think they're going to see how the landscape is going to potentially alter. And again, I think a star player is probably going to come out and say, you know what, I want out of whatever my situation is, whatever team I'm with. And that's when Daryl Morey is going to hopefully just swoop right in there and take care of business.
Yeah, you're right. And I think he will. I really do. I think he will. But Jeff, I know, you're graciously on with us now for almost an hour. I know you got to get running.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the time.
I know you got a big day ahead of you tomorrow and all that stuff. So, if you want to do your shameless plugs real fast before you roll on out.
Oh, geez.
Go right
Absolutely,
ahead.
dude. No,
listen, everybody, that we've been doing our podcast show for over 8 years, the Philadelphia Sports Table. We're on all podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, PhiladelphiaSportsTable.com. That's our website in case you want to go listen to the shows there. And you can also follow us on Twitter at Philadelphia PST. You can follow me at Jeffrey_Warren. And that's about it, guys, man. It was a great discussion.
Do you,
keep doing what you're doing.
Do you do live shows like on StreamYard, or is this your first one?
No. I did. I was on another podcast last week where I was on StreamYard for the very first time. This is the second time that I've been on StreamYard. We just do our audio shows and we upload them on a weekly basis. We have our Patreon platform, patreon.com/Philadelphia PST for some additional content. Really get into some great interviews, kind of dive deep into the sports world and Philly sports world in general, as well as some behind the scenes stuff that goes on with the show too for like $5 a month. So anyway, it's a great time. And it's been great talking to you guys too. Keep up what you're doing. Really keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
and
man.
Gladly come back anytime. We'd love to have you back on.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for the opportunity. And hey, man, go Birds, go Phils, go Flyers, and go Sixers. Let's do it.
Go Union.
Yes, there you go.
Have a good night, Jeff.
Hey, take care, guys. Take care.
We got it.
Right. That went very well. I enjoyed that. I was glad. Yeah.
That's weird. I didn't get the alert. So, that's really it. That's really it, guys. Anybody who's still on, we basically said what we wanted to cover. I can't think of anything else. You guys have been on. We're going on an hour, so
yeah.
I got to start cleaning up and getting my stuff ready.
Yeah. I don't know why you didn't get an alert, or
I don't know why it didn't go to my phone.
Yeah. And I have to do an opening for our show. Like, I'll edit this part out, but I had to do an opening because I didn't get the countdown going. I was like, oh man, I hit live, and I'm like, oh hey, there you are. So. But,
all right, we'll do the spiel and we'll head out of here.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us on another edition of the Philly podcast presented by CEVsports.com, powered by StreamYard and the Anchor app. I'm Eric Perugini. He's Chris Lahiff. And for Patrick Hausman, thank you all for joining us. And once again, thank you to Jeff Warren from the Philadelphia Sports Table for joining us and having a very spirited conversation on Philly topics tonight. Everyone, good night. Have a good one. See you, Chris.